Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 16, 2025 Special Board Meeting of the Halton District School Board. These meetings are open to the public so that all can see and hear our deliberations and how each trustee votes on the business before us in an open and transparent manner. I would like to extend a special welcome to our guests, both in person and online. We are very happy to have you join us this evening. We will start with the roll call. Vice Chair Oliver.
Good evening, everyone.
Trustee Ahmed.
Good evening, Chair.
Trustee Baxter.
Present.
Trustee Bryden.
Good evening.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you, I'm here.
Trustee Gray.
Hello.
Trustee Horn.
Good evening.
Trustee Rocha.
Here.
Trustee Wobenhorst. Trustee Zhang.
Good evening.
Student Trustee Ho is unable to make this evening's meeting, and Student Trustee Shu.
Good evening.
Thank you. Director Ennis, would you please let us know which staff are in attendance this evening?
Thank you, Chair Collard, and good evening, everyone. We have a full complement of staff here this evening to support the meeting.
And before we get underway, I would like to very much thank staff for staying to participate in this portion of the meeting. I know it was a special board meeting, but I also appreciate the support that you're showing to the Board of Trustees by staying. It means a lot to me. Tonight, Trustee Daniele will be honoring the land.
Thank you. We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which the HDSB is situated is on the ancestral, treaty, and title lands of the Anishinaabeg, Ojibwe, Mississauga Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Mississauga territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land.
Thank you very much, Trustee Daniele. Since this is a special board meeting, there are no opportunities to adjust the agenda. Now we are up to item 1.3, approval of the agenda. Trustee Ahmed, would you make a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, please.
Trustee Baxter, would you like to second this motion?
Yes, please, and I also have a question.
Sorry, can you speak a little closer to the mic?
I apologize. Yep, sorry. Yes, I'd like to second. I also have a question about the agenda.
Okay. Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Okay, we had one speaker. I believe, Carol, you wanted to speak.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. Given that it's a special meeting, we were to receive information about the reason for the urgency to call a special meeting. And I'm wondering if either Director Ennis or you, Chair Collard, could explain what the urgency is for this item.
The urgency that we identified was that because our next board meeting isn't until October the 8th, and we are aware that the Progressive Conservative government is moving forward swiftly on making a determination regarding the work that trustees do, we felt it was important to get this letter out quickly rather than bide our time and wait until possibly too late.
So we met last Tuesday evening. So was there anything that happened between Tuesday evening and Sunday evening when we were informed of the meeting that we should be aware of, or we're still on the same timeline of the minister speaking to looking at the trustee role before the end of this year?
The agenda was finalized on the Thursday of the week before the meeting. It was after the agenda was finalized that Minister Calandra did speak quite vocally about eliminating the role of trustee, especially for English public boards. Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest for this evening's agenda? Seeing none, we are now up to action items 3.0 for September 16, 2025. And we have 3.1.1, letter to the Premier of Ontario and the Minister of Education, submitted by Vice Chair Oliver, report 25097. Vice Chair Oliver, I believe you wanted to add a couple of things to this motion.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would like to add that the letter be CC'd to all members of Provincial Parliament, our OPSPA, Ontario Provincial School Board Association, Provincial Union Presidents, and the media, and that a similar letter will be sent out to public through social media by participating trustees.
Thank you. So I will add those to the motion. And I will now put it on the floor. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees direct the Chair to write a letter to Premier Doug Ford and the Minister of Education Paul Calandra, CCing the Ontario School Boards Association, the Members of Parliament, the Presidents of the provincial unions, and the media, outlining the important work of school board trustees in fulfilling the mandates of the board as set out in the Ontario Education Act, and requests that the Minister meet with representatives from the Ontario Public School Boards Association to engage in meaningful consultation about the importance of this democratically, locally elected position prior to making any determinations regarding the future role of Ontario's English Public School Board trustees. Vice Chair Oliver, would you move this motion?
I move this motion.
Trustee Rocha, will you second this motion?
I will.
Thank you. I'm opening the floor to Vice Chair Oliver to speak to the motion.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Trustees across Ontario are well aware of the Premier's and Minister's deliberations about the future of the position of School Board Trustee, the oldest democratically elected position dating back to mid-19th century following the Common School Act. I appreciate that the Minister knows the role of trustees. It is outlined in the Ontario Education Act as referring to the governance of the local system and key responsibilities. But I also think it is important for us to share how we carry out this role and fulfill the mandate of our elected position through our deep connection and familiarity with the local community that we serve. As trustees, we are entrusted with the oversight of the local school board. We also support the ministry by ensuring the implementation of ministry curriculum, ministry strategies, and mandates. We further assist the ministry by supporting its consultation needs and by bringing issues and concerns to the ministry's attention, all with student achievement and well-being in mind. We are the greatest advocates and supporters for Ontario's education system. The requirement that school board trustees live in the district where they serve further ensures that trustees represent their community's interests and needs while acting as liaisons between their constituents and the provincial government. Therefore, when we reach out to our community for their input, we get amazing engagement. Our constituents know that we are very familiar with their schools and their community, and that we will listen and arrive at the best decisions. Whether setting the strategic direction through the development of a multi-year plan or applying focus on our fiduciary responsibilities by leading evaluations into program viability, special education, school closures, and numerous school boundary reviews, among others, we engage with all key stakeholders in a meaningful and extensive consultation, respond to parent concerns and sometimes angry opposition, navigate sometimes challenging community dynamics, and support students who are struggling in the school system. And on a daily basis, every trustee helps students and their family navigate the education system, be it with academic concerns, program placements, reports of bullying, mental health needs, special education needs and concerns, just to name a few, all with the goal that no student be left behind. Trustees are often the greatest and sometimes the only ally for a student and their family as we collaboratively begin to address their concerns and sort out the issues, facilitating a connection to the staff person best equipped to assist them. We chose to become trustees because we deeply care about the state of education in our province and are committed to all students in our district. We fulfill our role with a deep sense of responsibility and dedication to every student and their success. We think of our schools as our students' second home, and we view our jurisdiction, no matter how large or small, as our home community because we live in it and we are closely connected to it. This is what grounds us and inspires us to do the very best we can for every student. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Oliver. Is there any debate? Seeing none, okay. There we go. Trustee Baxter.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I have a question or a couple of questions about the recommendation specifically. So the first part of the motion is to outline the work of school board trustees, and the second one is to request the minister meet with OPSPA. As far as I can tell from following the news and the minister's own social media, he appears to have engaged in broad consultations over the last several months, met with OPSPA a few months ago, has met with all of the teacher unions and other groups over the summer, and has visited schools, in fact some of ours, and seems to have come to the conclusion that among many other things in education, governance changes are needed. He stated that over time, the ministry has downloaded responsibility to boards and trustees that it shouldn't have. And he's highlighting the disconnect between the powers that we have over funding and operations and what's expected of us. So I'm seeing talk of reform and some mention of eliminating the role entirely. So I'm wondering, in the spirit of being constructive and perhaps preserving our roles, which I would like to do, would we consider working on a letter rather than what's listed here, but one of support to the minister in his efforts to reform and improve education in Ontario, acknowledging that there is a need for improvement and reform, and perhaps look at providing some constructive suggestions as opposed to simply outlining what I suspect he already knows through consultation and meetings that have already happened. In terms of OPSPA, the organization exists in statute as a representative, and we spend considerable amounts of money to be represented by OPSPA. So I'm quite sure that they're able to meet with the minister if he's willing to do so. So I'm not sure we have to ask the minister to meet with OPSPA. OPSPA was able to do that itself, which it did a few months ago. So I'm absolutely in agreement with the spirit of preserving the democratic role, but would much prefer see us working in a constructive way and a supportive way to the ministry in centering student achievement and well-being and looking at how we can support improvements as opposed to simply just reiterating what it is we do right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, Carol. The letter has been loosely drafted. It is not a fait accompli, and I would very much like to see the fingerprint of every single trustee on that letter. So any suggestions made by trustees around the table will absolutely be somehow put into the letter, and when we get to a point where we are happy with the final product, trustees will, I hope, all sign the letter.
Recognizing that the letter you're referring to is a document that I believe I have the right one to what do trustees do, is that correct? So that's not something that's available to the public that may be watching this meeting. So I'm not as concerned about what's in that document. I'm just speaking to the motion that's before us, which is to write a letter specifically to outline the important work and to request a meeting with OPSPA for the minister. And so what my suggestion is to change that motion. I'm not really concerned about the wording because, like you said, that's still to come. But the intention behind what we're writing, I was wondering if my colleagues would be interested in modifying the existing motion. Thank you.
Okay, so if you wish to change the motion, you need to bring an amendment, and then we would have a discussion about whether or not trustees agree with that approach. So I will let you consider whether or not you wish to bring an amendment, and I will move on to the next speaker, which is Trustee Horn.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I don't know if this is to Vice Chair Oliver or just to the trustees as a whole. So I'm just considering who benefits from the letter. So I think it would fulfill our own self-gratification, right? Like make us feel better about ourselves. However, I look at the minister and I think, and even in discussions with the trustees here, I think the minister has come to a conclusion of what he wants to do. And in the past, when we have looked at how we get through to the minister, it's not necessarily through our voices, but the voices of the voters. So I'm wondering if the approach we take isn't for us to write letters, but more along the lines of how do we engage our communities, somewhat similar to what we did. I don't know if it was the fair funding, but we did it a while ago that we got community members to write letters supporting the trustees, explaining to the minister why they feel we are important. Because again, for us just saying we want to save our jobs, I think that's nowhere near as powerful as having a community member saying, the trustees have done this for me and I see great value in their role. So, and votes are what they want. So I think 11 votes versus however many votes there are in us, I think that might be, again, a better approach. But that's my 2 cents.
Vice Chair Oliver, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. I understand what you're getting at, and I think the very first step is actually having this conversation tonight and passing this motion, because that puts us into action. There's a lot that has been playing out in the media. We've been seeing articles, we've been seeing deliberations and musings about what to do with student trustees, what to do with trustees. And, but I didn't see a meaningful consultation by the minister or the ministry, and that's why I'm recommending that, despite the fact that the minister probably did meet with OPSPA, as Trustee Baxter mentioned, it would have been weeks, if not months ago, and I think that all school boards need to share stories of how we fulfill our mandate. It's not just what is our role, because that is outlined in the Ed Act. It's how we actually support student achievement and well-being. What does that look like at the local level? And I think what's at stake is our students losing out, and our students' well-being being at risk. They need advocates, and they need locally based elected officials who work with the school board to ensure that we provide the best education to our students so that every student benefits and no student is left behind. And so I really hope that you will support this motion, that the body of the letter is going to be worked out by all of us. And there will be a separate communication going out from trustees who wish to participate to the community members themselves. We did conduct an education action forum. This was in 2019 when the Premier and Minister were proposing some changes to education, including mandatory e-learning. And our community, we brought that information to the community and we facilitated that consultation. The Minister was looking for input from the community, but it was us putting the information out there and facilitating a session and having these discussions that resulted in really robust feedback back to the minister, and that's what we need to do now. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to follow up again, I'm not disputing any of the points that you made, Vice Chair Oliver. I think that you are very correct on all of them. I just think we need to look at how we are messaging this. I don't know that us saying this is what we want to happen is as powerful as constituents of who are the voters saying we need the trustees. And again, we look at the messaging that's out there. We look at what the minister is saying about what we do. One of the big things is what we're spending our money on. So we need to show our constituents that we are fiscally responsible. Look at how we have spent our money and what we are doing, and use that to build that overwhelming support, which I know we can gain from the communities, and have the communities engage in letter writing. I just don't know that a letter from us will be that impactful, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we really are talking about the same thing. It does start here, and I think we owe it to ourselves and our community to advocate for the role of a democratically elected trustee. And the next step is to engage with our community members through all the work that we ourselves can do within the community.
And if I could just remind trustees that the request is for two separate letters. One letter to the minister and MPPs. The other letter is an open letter to the public, which would be distributed through social media. So that one is where we're getting that traction with the community. And we've already seen through Trustee Daniele's public posts on Facebook that this is getting traction. Her messages are being reposted and shared, and people are commenting back to her. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Trustee Daniele, but if you would like to just maybe give a brief, very brief synopsis of what you've done so far and the traction that it's getting.
What I have done is last week I looked at what I did each day as a trustee, and I posted trustee musings, and my Facebook is public if anyone would like to have a look at it. On Tuesday, I talked about having Mayor Mead Ward here and talked about her participation in the PAR before she became mayor and the importance of community involvement in that. Wednesday, I highlighted the trustee role in expulsion hearings. Thursday, it was the trustee role in supervised alternative learning. Friday, it was around the audit committee because we had audit committee. But the difference is that I have made them extremely personable and manageable. I'm not going to say I'm not opposed to a letter like this, but I don't really think it's going to have a great deal of impact. If I'm going to be completely honest, I think there are other methods. Perhaps it's a good starting point. But I really think it's the reason mine have taken off as they have is because they are not a form. They are a deeply personal. This is what my life on the ground is like. And I think that is what is resonating with people. And I've had 20, 30 shares of each of my posts. So it is growing quite wide that way. So I think that's why I won't comment on that. You didn't ask me to comment on the motion, so I will do no longer. I will just tell you that is what I've been doing with social media.
Thank you. Did you have another question, Trustee Horn? Okay, moving on to Trustee Rocha.
Through you, Chair. So I didn't realize it was to write two letters. So I think I missed that when you proposed an amendment. So if I'm hearing correctly this time, it's one letter to the Premier and the Minister and a separate letter to who? I'm a little confused.
The first letter goes to the Premier, the Minister for Education, MPPs, provincial union presidents, and the media. The second letter, which will be almost identical to the first letter, will be slightly tailored so that it doesn't talk about the exact same things because it's not the same audience, but it will be very similar. And it will be sent out through social media by trustees who wish to participate in sending it out. And that is how we start building on the community piece of this. We cannot, in the short time that we have, delay much longer before a decision is made and we haven't spoken up. If we don't do something to say what it is that our board does and is prepared to do. And as suggested by Trustee Baxter, how we can help to make reforms that might be necessary to the role of trustee. If we don't start speaking to that now, the decision may come and go before we've had a chance to have a say.
Okay, so now that I know that there are 2 letters, I want clarification, I guess, from the second part of the motion, which is requesting the minister meet with representatives from OPSPA. I know that OPSPA has been in the media advocating and doing what they're doing, but we do have an OPSPA representative in the room, a trustee representative. So I'm wondering, is there anything, what are your thoughts on this part of the motion? Because I'm going to be under the impression that you have more, you know more of what's happening with OPSPA and perhaps know what their strategy is when it comes to the trustee role. So would you be open to sharing your thoughts on that part of the motion and perhaps sharing what it is that OPSPA is doing and still plans to do between now and October 3rd?
Thank you. I can tell you as a member of OPSPA Exec, we are meeting weekly to discuss strategy and communication, and you're seeing communication coming out from OPSPA. There was the letter that I forwarded last week to all trustees in Central West. There was another document that came out today. You're seeing those communications come out regularly, those talking points that OPSPA is able to use. OPSPA is taking a very careful, strategic approach to communications so that there is a consistent message. Because it's also, as soon as something goes out, if it goes out to the trustees, we know that it is also immediately going to the media and the minister's office. And that is okay. That's why they are being as careful as they are in the communication. There will definitely be more communications coming out. It is a very careful planned strategy that I can't talk about at this point. And requests are being made to meet with. I see no harm in the second motion. I also don't see any benefit in it because it seems to presume that OPSPA is not asking to meet with the minister's office, but they are. They're not only is the president and the executive director asking to meet with the minister, but there's so much being done at the staff level as well, between the OPSPA staff and the minister staff and the staff in other ministries within it. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I don't think that second piece is necessary, and I think it puts another onus onto OPSPA for something that they're already doing. That's just my opinion, but again, it does no harm if it's passed today.
Can I follow up?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so
You did run out of time, but I think I had the timer running when you weren't speaking too, so I'll let you go.
Bingo. Okay, so through you, Chair, to Trustee Daniele. So thank you for clarifying that. So if once all the amendments are on the floor, I would like to put an amendment to strike that section from the original motion. The other thing I was thinking about is this isn't the first time that the role of trustees has been under threat. We saw it in Manitoba. And so I do support us writing a letter or 2 letters, but I would want it to be a little, I guess, because it is something that we're all going to put our fingers on. I think I would want it to be less prescriptive than what it is in the motion right now, because in the motion it says outlining the important work. But I know that this letter, if 11 of us are touching it, we're all going to go off on tangents and we're not going to meet this mandate here. So I would make it less prescriptive. but I am a proponent that we do need to advocate for ourselves. We spend the entire school year advocating for our students, and advocating for our staff. So it's about time that we stand up and start advocating for ourselves. So I do support the writing of letters, just we need to tweak this motion.
Thank you, Trustee Rocha. And I will now move to Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much. Some of the points I was going to make have already been made, and I think we can do all that's being suggested here. I see a letters or 2 letters being written. I see maybe the need of a subcommittee to decide how we can fan information out to our communities, or at least some dialogue. I know Trustee Daniele has already shared things from OBSPA, some templates and so on and so forth. So what we need is a commitment by everybody, though, to make this top priority in the next few weeks, because I totally agree with Chair Collard that time is of the essence, and more voices are needed, as Trustee Horn has said. They listen to the voices probably of the community more than the people that are affected. Having been on any group, a climate action group, where we came together to fight for the saving of 5,000 acres of farmland in Halton region, and also for the preservation of the green belt, I know that this government can be swayed. I know that they can change their mind. They just need to hear from community. They need to know that there's enough people out there that really feel differently than their view right now. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to figure out a way to make that all happen in the short time that we have.
Thank you, Trustee Gray. And I'm going to just let Student Trustee Shu speak because he hasn't spoken yet. And so I'm going to put him next on the speakers list. I can do that with this nifty system. And you can go ahead, Student Trustee Shu.
Through you, Chair. I'd just like to share Trustee Ho's message, who has sent her regrets and couldn't make it here in person at the meeting today. Trustee Ho has asked me to share the following on this. When I first heard that the Ministry of Education was looking to get rid of elected trustees, my first thought was, how do we uphold democracy within our educational systems? As an elected position by our community, our Senate, and our families, trustees serve as a structural avenue for our accountability, transparency, debate, and importantly, for student priorities to be heard. As a student trustee, I stand firmly that many opportunities and initiatives presented by the Student Senate and the advocacy effort of trustees would never have been possible without our responsible, fair, and respectable trustees around this very table. I cannot stress enough how much we need to deeply consider what removing trustees will mean for student representation and student prioritization within our communities. If we want to better the operations of our boards, this is not the way to do it. Furthermore, I'd like to add some personal remarks. As a newly elected student trustee, this is only my second time speaking in this room, being present in this room as well. However, even in such short times, I've seen firsthand the commitment and care shown by the trustees at this table. Their willingness to listen, learn, and advocate for changes with the best interests of students in mind has been evident. Trustee Ho and I have also worked to carry out a similar responsibility, actively listening to the feedback and input at school and from all of our peers. Trustees have truly been an irreplaceable part in voicing out student concerns, and the elimination of trustees will not be beneficial for the students of Halton. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Shu. And now I will go back to Trustee Baxter.
Thank you. Through the chair. As I was listening to some of the comments, I'd just like to agree with Trustee Rocha and Trustee Daniele. I do think that the second part of the motion is not necessary, and I am concerned, and I think listening to Trustee Daniele and getting that bigger picture about how OBSPA functions, I think there could be potentially some harm in overstepping what we should be doing, considering that OBSPA exists to represent us already. They have a staff of, a dozen, I think. Trustee Daniele, you might correct me if I'm incorrect, but it's a large budget and a decent size staff, and I know they do a lot of really good work So I would be concerned about getting in the middle of that, especially considering the comments that Trustee Daniele has made. I would like, so the other thing that I've sort of noticed, Chair Collard, as you were speaking, there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between the motion that we have that Trustee Oliver has brought, or Vice Chair Oliver has brought to us, and what is actually being planned in terms of multiple letters and social media and that kind of thing. So given what I had shared earlier, I was looking to perhaps propose an alternative motion. I guess would be an amendment to the existing motion. So if that's okay, I can read it and just send it to all trustees for consideration. Sorry, now I just lost it. Be it resolved that the chair write a letter expressing support for Minister Calandro's efforts to improve education in Ontario and request that he consider conducting a public consultation before making any changes to the Education Act regarding the role of trustees. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Carol, that's not an amendment to the motion. That's a whole new motion. So if you want to bring that, you would have to bring that after we vote on this motion, because that is entirely different.
Yes, it's amending. So I agree with the idea of reaching out and using our voice and speaking up, absolutely, and writing to the minister and possibly the premier as well. But I think the content of it should be different, and that was what I was amending, was the content.
That's not an amendment. It's a separate motion. Okay. Do we have any other speakers to this motion as read? Because people were talking about perhaps making amendments other than the one that Carol suggested. There was some discussion about perhaps removing the second part of the motion. Can you put yourself on the speakers list? Oh, I have Joanna first.
Thanks. Through your chair, I just wanted to address the second part about meeting with OBSPA. I certainly appreciate that our provincial association has been very engaged in advocating for our role and doing a lot of great work in this area. I'm not asking them to meet with the minister. I'm requesting politely that the minister continue to meet with OBSPA to engage in meaningful consultation. And so if adding the word continue to meet helps in either direction, I would be fine with that. But it's that we want to ensure that the minister continues to have those consultations and the dialogue with OBSPA. We know OBSPA is doing that, but we are requesting that come from the minister as well. I think that was, and I just wanted to speak to Trustee Rocha's commentary around the letter. If we're not outlining the important work that we do in fulfilling the mandate, then what are we writing a letter about? We are advocating for the role of public school board trustee, and I think a lot of the discussions and a lot of the stuff that's been playing out in the media really came out of some irresponsible behaviors by some trustees across the province. So what we want to make sure is that that's not the focus for the evaluation of the role or what needs to happen in the future. We want to make sure that the minister and the premier fully understand how trustees carry out our mandate and our responsibilities. So I'm afraid of watering this letter down because I want to make sure that we are clear about that. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm going to let myself take the final. Oh, I've got Trustee Daniele. Okay, and then I'll put myself on.
And mine is really a point of order because we have been, well, first of all, I think I'd like to see this separated into two separate motions, to be honest with you, because I do think that they can stand alone, and as such, they can be separated into two motions. And then my question is really more a point of clarification. Trustee Baxter has sent us her amended motion, what she thought was an amendment, but it was clearly a different motion. So I just want to be clear that if anyone supports that motion, we must first defeat this motion.
Yes, absolutely. But people could decide to support both letters. They could support the letter brought forward by Vice Chair Oliver and the letter brought forward by Trustee Baxter.
They could.
They could.
I'm not sure.
I'm just putting it out there.
I'm not sure that's an effective
Just putting
use
it
of
out
time,
there.
but I
But
do.
yeah, we can't consider another motion until we deal with the one on the floor.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do, because I will be honest with you, I do prefer the other approach, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this one. Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm going to let myself. Okay, you can't ring in? Okay, go ahead.
Too many things going on here. So, supporting writing 2 letters, it sounds a little bit inane to me. Like, why would you bombard with the minister with 2 letters, considering he's trying to get rid of us? This is just, you wrote 2 letters. Don't you have anything else better to do? So no, do not write 2 letters to the minister. He's busy doing stuff. So it goes back to the content of the letter. And so that's why I wanted the letter to be less prescriptive, saying in Trustee Oliver's letter says, the important work of trustees. I think you can still say important work of trustees, but why is it important? Where do we add value? Where is the democratic vote? So I was hoping that the motion would be less prescriptive, so you could include what Trustee Baxter suggested. Yes, we're important. Yes, we add value. Yes, we're the democratic voice of our constituents. And yes, we appreciate you reviewing the role. And thank you for looking at us. And then going into more detail. So that's where I was hoping to go, with a less prescriptive letter, so that we can include all of these ideas. Because, I mean, if 10 people have ideas, we're not going to write 10 letters. So it's a way of, how do we write the best letter, capturing all of our different ideas, so that we can accomplish the most with one letter. So I would be very much in support of incorporating Trustee Baxter's suggestions into the letter that Trustee Oliver is hoping that we would write. And that way, one letter.
Okay, so now I'm going to speak. I tried to speak 5 minutes ago. That was exactly what I was going to suggest, because I don't want to write a letter saying the good work that we do, and a letter saying thank you for looking at the role. I would rather write one letter that looks at both. So if we can, instead of bringing 2 motions, amend the motion. So perhaps you would like to take a crack at amending the motion, Trustee Rocha, to simplify the language so that we can deal with that in one rather than 2 motions.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
We can, absolutely. Absolutely. 5-minute recess. Okay, we are back in session. We have an amending motion. Be it resolved that Part 1 of the original motion be amended to the following. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees direct the Chair to write a letter to Premier Doug Ford and Minister of Education Paula Calandra with a copy to MPPs, Ontario Public School Boards Association, Presidents of Provincial Unions, and the media, regarding the work of school board trustees in fulfilling the mandates of the board as set out in the Ontario Education Act, and that the minister consider conducting a public consultation before making any changes to the Education Act regarding the role of trustees, and that the second part of the original motion be deleted. And I'm assuming that would be moved by Trustee Rocha
Yes.
and seconded by
No, how do
Okay. Moved by Vice Chair Oliver
Yes, I move that motion.
and seconded by Trustee Rocha.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Trustee Rocha, as you were the one that precipitated the amendment, I would like to let you speak to it first.
Through you, Chair. So the proposed amendment still addresses the need for us to advocate for ourselves and supporting the motion to write a letter with the twist that we would be focusing on the work of the school board trustees, but also taking into consideration Trustee Baxter's request of conducting a public consultation. So those two ideas have been merged into one. And then the second part of the motion has been deleted, recognizing that OPSPA is consulting with the minister already. So we don't want to step on their toes. And I so move.
And you so second. Okay, I'm just going to look and see if we have anyone on the speakers list. It's not showing us. I can't get into it.
Can I speak first because I moved it?
No, I'm going to go to Trustee Daniele.
Thank you very much. Very briefly, and thank you for everybody who put together what I think is a really good, robust motion. And I sincerely apologize to do this, but I have a suggested amendment that we also copy Osta ACO, and that the midline in the middle that says regarding the work of school board trustees, we add and student trustees to include the student voice. Thank you.
Okay, is there any objection to the amendment to the amendment? We have to deal with the amendment to the amendment before we bring on other speakers. Does anyone wish to speak to the amendment to the amendment? Okay, I'm going to call the question on the amendment to the amendment. Carolina, can you bring that up? Do it by hands? Okay. All in favor? Okay. No opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And now to the amendment, the newly amended amendment. All those in favor? Okay, we want to speak to the amendment. I cannot see the speakers list.
I can. You've got Marco, Joanna, and Jean.
Okay. I can't read that far. Yeah. I tried. It doesn't go.
Mine is just super quick, Chair Collard. I'm just checking because the way.
Okay. Donna, were you finished?
I was finished.
Okay, we will move on to Margot now.
The way you read the motion is different than the motion I see here. We had asked for the word consider conducting, the consider to come out. You use those words, and I'm just wanting to ensure that it is just to conduct.
Consider is not there, it's conduct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Oliver.
Thank you very much. I'm very much in favor of this, and I thank all my fellow trustees for collaborating on the wording for this motion. I think we're always stronger together, so thank you for that. And I'm completely okay with taking out the second part because that piece around consultation is included in the main body of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, and Trustee Gray.
Yes, a question to the mover, if I may. You list Ontario Public School Boards Association, which I take it to be OPSPA. Do you mean also to copy the members, all the 72 school boards of OPSPA?
I shall defer to the original mover, which is Trustee Oliver.
Yes, I would be in favor of sending it to our association as well as its members.
Thank you. So does the motion as it reads now cover that?
I believe that OPSPA forwards our letters to them, to the other boards. I get letters from OPSPA from other boards. They send them to the chair and then the chair shares them. Okay? And if that's not the case, we will find out. I will find out, okay? That concludes the debate. So we will now vote on the amended twice motion. And thank you very much. That passes unanimously. And this is a perfect example of us working together to make a good thing better. And I know that that's what will happen with this letter when we get our fingerprints on it and make it into a wonderful letter to send to the minister. Thank you very much.
I believe we need one more vote.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm sorry. I got lost in the votes. We have one more vote. Yes, the amended main motion. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Well, it was already moved and seconded. Yeah. That's okay. And thank you. That newly amended main motion has now passed unanimously. Thank you so much. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our agenda. And as we have exhausted our agenda, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.